ready.
What's the birthday? I call this meeting to order. This is the Livingston Parish Council meeting. Today is March the 14th, 2019. It's just a few minutes after 6:30. It's actually 6:40 p.m. All right. We're going to have our invocation now. We can all stand. Mr. Tableau Bell is in charge of that tonight.
Well, tonight we have all the way from Slidell, Pastor John Raymond from New Horizon Church. And he also has a bridge radio over there, so he's very active in the community over there. So
thank you so much. And I'm a Livingston Parish boy, a proud Springfield graduate, so I'm
wow.
Thanks for coming. It'll be okay. Sorry. And go Bulldogs. Let's go ahead and pray, ladies and gentlemen. Heavenly Father, it is an honor to get together tonight, Lord, as we discuss the business of our community, our brothers and sisters that we care about. Father, I thank you for all these men and women, Lord, who take time out of their busy schedules, Lord, to serve one another. You say that if we want to be leaders, we have to become servants. And so I thank you for these people who spend many hours doing things away from their family or their businesses so they can serve their fellow man. Lord, we just ask tonight that you be with this body, that you be with their decisions, Lord, that you give them grace and strength. May you give them the wisdom of Solomon, the leadership of Moses, the courage of David, and the grace of Jesus Christ. We pray in his name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I'm going to ask Jeff Avery to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. It's a great way to kick off a good meeting, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right. Oh, I need to ask everybody to silence their cell phones so we don't get unintended interruptions.
Turn your pager off.
Yeah, turn them off or silence them. Yeah, pagers, everything. All right, public input. If anybody wishing to address any agenda item, as that agenda item comes up, we'll give the public opportunity to talk about that. And what we'll do is ask you to raise your hand, and you just simply come on up to the podium after we call on you, and you state your name and your address, and we'll give everybody the same amount of time, 3 minutes. How about that? All right, presentations. We don't have. Oh, excuse me. Oh, yes, that's a great idea. We need to know who's here and who's not here. So I skipped number 4. Roll call, please, Miss Sandy.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Everett.
Here.
Mr. Lobell.
Here.
Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Girlinghouse.
Here.
Mr. Ard. Mr. Mack.
Here.
Mr. Wascom.
Here.
Mr. Talbert.
Yes, here.
All right, presentations. It doesn't appear that we have any presentations tonight, so we'll move on forward to item number 8. Adoptions of minutes. All right. February 28, 2019, Jubin Crossing Community Development District. We also have February 28, 2019, regular meeting of the council. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
Yes, sir.
I think John Wascom was the first one to offer that motion. Do we have a second? We got a second by Mr. Bubba Harris. All in favor? Aye. No opposed? Okay. All right. Item number 9, Parish President's Report. Is there anybody here to speak on the Parish President Report? No report? That sounds good. Item number 10, public hearing and adoption of LP Ordinance number 19-06, servitude revocation. Melissa Martin Clark, South Frost Road. I will now open the public hearing. Do we need to read the ordinance?
This is proposed ordinance 19-06, an ordinance revoking a certain 60-foot private off-purpose servitude located in section 20, township 7, South Range 3 East, Greensburg Land District, Livingston Parish, Louisiana, in favor of the landowner being more particularly described in the attached survey.
All right. Is there any discussion? Any discussion from the council? Nope, we need to close the meeting. All right.
Well, we're gonna move on because this thing, we're not gonna actually address it. We gotta have the public hearing because it was advertised, but
Yeah.
we're not gonna address it. We need to introduce 11.
Yeah. Okay. Item number 11, we would like to this is a reintroduction of an ordinance, Melissa Martin Clark, this is a servitude revocation, L&L land surveying. All right.
I just have a quick question for Mr. Moody. Can we please keep the ordinance number? It's a
Sure.
reintroduction. Okay, thanks. This is proposed ordinance 19-06, an ordinance revoking a certain 60-foot private all-purpose subdivision located in section 20, township 7, South Range 3 East, Greensburg Land District, of this parish, Louisiana, in favor of the landowner being more particularly described in the attached survey. And public hearing will be on March 28th, 6:30 p.m.
All right.
I'll make a motion to,
We have
introduction.
we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse to introduce this ordinance. We have a second by Mr. Jeff Averett. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed. All right. Sure is quiet in here. We're gonna need a little bit of noise from somebody sooner or later. Okay.
What you asked for.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't believe you're gonna ask me.
All right, number 12. Public hearing and adoption of LP ordinance number 19-07, an ordinance amending and clarifying the boundaries of mosquito abatement district 2 and 3 by amending LP ordinance number 18-5, adopted on April 26, 2018. Okay, I will now open the public hearing. Sandy, will you read that, please?
This is proposed ordinance 19-07. This is an ordinance amending and clarifying the boundaries of mosquito abatement district 2 and 3 of the parish of Livingston, state of Louisiana, and providing for other matters in connection.
All right, is there anybody here to discuss that matter?
I'll make a motion.
All right, I need to close the hearing, correct?
Yes, please.
Yes.
All right, I now close the public hearing. We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Gary Talbert to adopt this ordinance. And do we have a second right there by Mr. Scooter Keene to adopt this ordinance to modify those boundaries? I call for the vote.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Averett.
Yes.
Mr. Lobel.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse.
Yes.
Mr. Mack.
Yes.
Mr. Wascom.
Yes.
Mr. Talbert.
Yes.
All right. Item number 13, Planning Commission recommendations. Mr. Sam D. Geronimo, come on up to the podium there.
Thank you, Chairman. First on the agenda is a multifamily development, Old River Townhomes preliminary site plan. I think this is in Mr. John Wascom's district. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for the Old River Townhomes contingent on Yukon Road being brought up to parish standards or a driveway between units or being built on the development, either or.
Is there anyone here that can speak for the developer on that? I know there's some questions and.
Yeah,
Don't forget to state who you are and everything.
what's that?
Don't forget to state who you are and everything.
Yeah, my name is Bo James Booty. I'm with Centerline Engineering, 200 Government Street, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Here to speak on behalf of the owner here tonight. Be happy to
Thank
answer
you.
the
I had a couple questions. I've gotten some phone calls about the development. It's my understanding y'all went to the planning commission and talked about different options and you, after you left the planning commission, they had a couple criteria, either redo Yukon Street, bring it up to parish standards and widen it, or turn the driveway around coming off another road. And it was my understanding that y'all really wasn't sure which one you was gonna do. Have you solidified that? Because I know there's a lot of people that still have questions and they'd like to look those over before. Can you tell me what your status is right now?
Yeah, so we've done a couple different layouts to determine what would be the most feasible, and we're currently in the process of obtaining pricing to see what would be most feasible for the developer. But he is willing to take the approval based on the stipulation that he either does have to bring up Yukon Road or we will add our own separate private drive to the townhomes.
And that separate private drive would be coming off of Yukon or off of Old River Road?
So that's a couple of, there's two options that we're looking at, and one of them would be coming off of Yukon, and one of them will be coming off of Old River. And I think more than likely, it looks like, if we do have to do a drive, it's looking like it may have to come off Old River, but like I said, we're still obtaining numbers on that, so he didn't want to make a decision here tonight on where the road would come from. But
Okay.
he is.
I understand. I guess my question is, and just like you don't want to make the decision tonight, I'm not one to slow progress down, but I know that some of the people are just, I've gotten a bunch of phone calls. I'm not saying we couldn't make this happen, but I think they would like to kind of know what's going to be before we vote for it and approve it. You know, I don't know. I think there's a gentleman and so that's kind of what I've been hearing. Sam, is there any way that they could get this information put together and maybe run it back through planning and bring it back to us, or?
Well, you can, yes, sure you can.
I mean, do you have any idea when y'all would want to get this? When you would be finished on the plans, or?
At this point, we don't have, we sent out the information to some contractors to give them some pricing back. And in the meantime, we wanted to come through and just keep the process
I think what
moving
you're
forward.
asking is a planning meeting in a month, if that's not gonna hold you up, then you'd rather just send it back with what your
Once they
final
make the
design would
decision.
be, right?
Once they make the decision of which way.
Right,
they're
and then they
going,
could tell you, and then you can
Send it
tell the
back.
people in our districts right there,
Yeah,
because
'cause
I know it's right.
I know they have a lot of
It's on the
questions
edge of
about it.
my district too, so.
Is there, are you gonna move forward with the project, I guess is what I'm saying, or is there a possibility that you might not do the project? I guess, but depending on how the numbers come back.
That's correct. Depending on how the numbers come back, we just have to see if it's still a feasible project, but we didn't want to stop the progress of moving forward with it.
Is Yukon Road a parish road, Sam?
Yes.
Would a traffic impact study, they're
The
just,
state will probably look at this, and I guess you're talking about turning lane?
well, I guess my question is, number one, under the new state guidelines, since it's got a parish road there, could he even get an access off of State Highway number one? And number two, is Yukon, they said that he can't get it without Yukon being upgraded. Isn't that normally determined based on the traffic impact study, or is Yukon that bad a shape, or?
Well, I don't really know what you're asking here.
Well, okay, so I guess the recommendation is they meet all our ordinances, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so the planning commission basically said that they'll approve it if Yukon brought up the parish standard. Well, it's a parish road, so it ought to be at parish standards already, am I correct?
This Yukon Road was built way back there. We don't have any documentation showing.
It may not meet
what's
current
out.
standards.
Now, it is a parish road. It's maintained by the parish, and it's been maintained, I guess since about, and I don't know the exact date, but it was after my time. And I'm saying probably maybe 2008, 2007, but don't hold that to me. I'm just guessing. But it is a parish road, and it was probably done, in all due respect to the folks on Yukon, just put in the system like occasionally council members do.
That we don't do anymore.
D, you gotta say
You
D.
don't do anymore.
That why we-
That's basically.
Okay, all right. But my question is,
You force them to-
how
Hey,
can,
hey, listen, and if it fits the criteria, we're not gonna have a problem. I'm sure that this thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, we're gonna have it, potholed, and we'll check it and see just exactly what's underneath that asphalt road. If you asked me that today, I couldn't answer that.
well, I guess my question is, we always go back to these situations, Chris, where they're not asking for a waiver. And we on a commercial development don't require a drainage impact study and a traffic impact study anyway. So my question is, does the planning commission have the authority to tell somebody they gotta upgrade a parish road contingent upon their approval?
This is also residential too.
That was discussed, and they asked me about that, and they asked the engineer. I mean, if it's for valid safety reasons, because you can control how many entrances they have onto your parish road, this is gonna have 10 or 15, and they were gonna be backing out onto the parish road. That, they thought was a safety hazard, and I think that's why they were gonna hold it up. They'd be willing to give in on that if they would be, ask them if they could bring the road up to standard, which make it a little more safe. So it's kind of a trade-off. They can't make them do it, but they were holding out permission to have that many entrances. Get it?
I got a question. I mean, in my opinion or view, to me, the preliminary plat should be, I mean, the original intention of the project. And to me, the entrance is a very valuable, important part of the project. So to me, when you submit the preliminary plat, it needs to
Be solid.
I mean, it needs to be pretty solid.
When we
So
did-
I think it's perfectly acceptable if we want to send this back to planning and get them to decide, you know, before
After
the
they get their
project's
plans
approved,
together.
you know, to ensure that safe entrance and exit is, I mean, is acceptable.
I'd put that in the motion if there's a second.
A motion to,
Send it
Our
back to
intention,
planning.
just if I could say something, our intention,
go
and
ahead,
the
buddy.
developer's intention was to do it as per the layout that y'all have in front of y'all with the driveways on UCAN. Being understanding that it was a public road, he thought it was just as any other time you subdivide land on the road. That was our intention, was to do the driveways. We were told at the planning commission meeting that we would have to adhere to one of those stipulations if we wanted to move forward. We talked to the client, he said he was fine with doing that to keep the process moving forward. So just to give you a little more background.
So basically so you're either gonna upgrade Yukon or you're gonna flip them and have the entrance off of Old River and what is the front would become the back? Is that basically the
That's
difference?
basically the gist of what we're looking at right now, yes, sir.
You can do that contingent on doing it.
I mean, you're not,
we have a gentleman in the back that would like to say something.
come up to the mic and
I'm Cold Waron, 31715 Old River Road, Denham Springs, Louisiana. And we live right across the street from where you're talking about doing this. And from the plot plan that we've seen, your houses are coming off Yukon. Yukon is really a one-lane road right now. What parish standards are to the compaction and all that, I don't know. But to go down Yukon, you've just about got to get off the road to have another car go down.
it's dead end, isn't it?
It's dead end road. See it every morning. Had a guy came down with a trailer trying to come to my house, took a wrong turn. He couldn't turn around the road yesterday. He had to just about back all the way out with a trailer. If we're gonna flipping it would put the houses on Magnolia Beach Road from the plot plan I've seen. So
No,
here,
there's along Magnolia Beach is a large commercial tract, so
Right.
it would not, there's a,
They could use that 2.6.
so there's a pond and there's a large commercial tract between, so it wouldn't be off Magnolia Beach. There's talk
Right.
about maybe coming in the back of the townhome.
right, so that's not really flipping. That's just moving the entrance from Yukon to Old River Road.
Yeah, I meant flipping the townhomes.
You meant flipping the townhomes.
You just flip the
Okay.
townhomes
Okay.
and create the driveway.
Because our concern throughout the road right there is the traffic. Coming off of Yukon, you're gonna have, from what I've heard, Tim, if I'm wrong, maybe 50 to 56 cars or parking spots allotted for in there, am I right?
Well, right now we're proposing 24 townhomes, so
So 50, roughly 50.
Yeah, 20 of them on Yukon and 4 of them on Old River Road.
So when you put that traffic in and out at Old River Road like that, what's that gonna do to that traffic? And then the backside, if that's a commercial parking lot, when you dump the business traffic out right there at the intersection, it's already a nightmare at 5 o'clock, 5:30. And when they dug up and put the culverts there, traffic backed up there with just that the other day. I asked, before we vote, or y'all vote and vote this through, can we see what's gonna happen, the traffic studies, or however you do it, what
Well,
the
it doesn't
impact is
matter,
gonna be
once
right there?
even if we approve the preliminary, all that's gotta be done, and if it doesn't, they're gonna make it fit on the traffic study, they don't let them build it. Isn't that how it works, Chad?
Well, it does, but you know, with the amount of folks on Yukon, and I don't know how many that will determine the traffic impact study, right, Marty? Ms. Marty is our review.
Okay.
And I just don't, there's a lot of ifs about it. So, I mean, if you want to feel comfortable with your recommendation, I mean, you can always send something back to the plant after they decide what they want to do. We wanted to give them the option either or. I think that was what the planning commission's intent was, to give them an option either or, so they could move forward with their project. And then,
Right.
So in other words, they want to build it either way.
Well, I mean, I guess my thought is, they're gonna do one or the other, neither one are gonna require a waiver, and planning was satisfied with whichever one they choose. So is there any reason to send it back?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'd like for us to send it back, just because the people still have questions about what's gonna happen. I mean, and we don't know whether they're gonna come in off of Yukon, we're gonna come in off of the other road. I mean, it's not final yet. I mean, I think it's probably a good project. These people were spending a lot of time and money. And I'm not saying that we're gonna kill it, but I'd just like to know the people have questions, that I'm getting phone calls, and people have questions about this. So, I mean, they already don't have the information yet. They still gotta wait to get the information. Let's wait till they get it, bring it back to planning, let them look at it again. And then if they approve it again, it'll come back to us, and we can go forward.
3 weeks, yeah,
3
3
weeks.
weeks next meeting for planning.
Just one more thing. I heard about DOTD. We did submit the drawing that y'all have to DOTD as a courtesy. We knew that we would have to get their approval, being that UCAN is within a quarter mile of a state road, plus we had 2 driveways. So they do have the layout, and they, from my preliminary conversations with them, didn't have any issues. That's number one. And number two, I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if we get approved here, we still have to go through the process of doing a drainage impact study and doing a traffic, and that still has to go back in front of planning commission and get a,
once you get your preliminary approved here, you move forward, it's you and the engineer.
just did me and they said it wouldn't go back before the planning commission. Okay, well,
That's good? That answer your question?
that answered my question, yeah.
So that's what you'd like to do?
Yeah, I would. I mean, if
I don't see where it's gonna make a whole lot of difference, except you'll be able to tell the people that are
That's
calling you
right.
exactly
They
what they're
get-
gonna
Are
get.
y'all gonna have an answer by the next planning commission, exactly which way y'all gonna go?
I mean, that's 3 weeks.
well,
I would, when's the next planning commission meeting?
First Wednesday of
April.
what's this?
It's gonna be like the first, I
First
think.
Wednesday of April.
No, it's gonna be the first,
The
second,
third,
the third.
April 3rd. April 3rd.
So would you have the answers by the third?
We would hope to.
I
If
guess,
not, you're gonna be holding it up past what we would wanna
Yeah, that's
go
it.
look at anyhow,
You're not gonna
so,
be holding them up long,
yeah.
is that a
if
second?
you do it all.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay.
I think that's, because that's what you want,
That's
and,
right.
you know.
Yeah,
if
thank
they
you.
seconded it,
So what we have here is we have, I'm sorry, that wasn't,
No, no.
I was really just clearing my throat, to be honest with you.
Oh, you, sure you were.
No, so we have a motion on the floor by John Wascom, to send the preliminary plat, site plan for Old River Townhomes back to planning to, I
Approve a
guess you could say,
final plan.
to, so that the preliminary plat indicate exactly where the
Exactly where the
road
project is.
or the entrance to the, project is gonna be. You know, we wanna clear that up, you know. And we have a second by Mr. Scooter King, and so, and that being said, is there any more discussion from the, audience? Any more discussion from the council?
I would like to say too,
Oh, go ahead, Tracy.
I would like to know exactly what we're voting on, you know.
Me
And
too.
that's what I'm saying. I understand Mr. Wascom's concern on this. I mean, you're given an approval, and I don't necessarily have a problem that we can legally affect anyway. You know, if Yukon Drive isn't up to standard, I mean, we should be able to, but we can't because it meets the ordinances. So, but I would like to know exactly what I'm voting on, which entrance, which way. So, I'm in agreement. Not necessarily want to hold them up, but at the
Yeah,
same
don't
time, I
hold
want
up
it,
you know, yeah.
I want to see exactly what they're doing before we go forward.
I
So
bet you're
that's
not
it.
gonna hold them up.
I know, I'm guaranteeing you're not gonna hold them up, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so that being said, is there any more discussion? All right, I call for the vote on this one.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Averett.
Yes.
Mr. Lidwell.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse.
Yes.
Mr. Mack.
Yes.
Mr. Wascom.
Yes.
Mr. Talbot.
Yes.
All right, item number 13B, Livingston Farms subdivision without improvements.
Okay, this is a subdivision without improvements. This is in Mr. Tab Lobell's area. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the subdivision without improvements for Livingston Farms contingent on the drainage being addressed. And what that means is the engineer will present something to our review engineer. And at that time, she will decide whether a drainage impact study will be necessary. Right, Morgan?
So there's a possibility, Sam, that there is no drainage impact study on this development?
Once they submit this to the engineers, and Morgan, if you want to kind of clear the water a little bit for Gary as far as the question was.
So there's a chance a full drainage impact study won't be
Eh,
needed.
could state again who you are, Morgan? I know we know you, but I want to make sure everybody else
Morgan
knows
Sanchez
you.
with Borton and
Real
Blotter.
loud.
Morgan Sanchez with Borton and Blotter, review engineer. So there's a chance we won't require a full DIS. I say that because they did originally write a letter for the exception. I believe it was 7% impervious was what they were increasing, and that was them being, they were trying to guess what would be out there. These are bigger lots. We recommended, since there's already drainage problems in the area, to not accept that exception. Because you can allow it, you don't have to allow it. I've been told that the CFS is only goes up one CFS with their development. So I told them, send me what you have, because if that is the truth, then it's really not affecting anything, then there won't be a need for a full drainage impact study. But I need to see something to show that they're not gonna hurt anybody upstream or downstream of them in a 25-year storm event.
I have a question, but,
Doesn't the
Now, what you
drainage there
ask?
fail already, Morgan?
I mean, I had a question.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman.
But to me, what I'm hearing is, to me, in order for you to gather up the information that you need to make that decision, you do a gravity drainage study, and it provides all of that, you know, and it tells you the impact. I mean, why don't we just go forward with the gravity drainage study, and voila, everything's in writing, we're good to go.
If y'all would like to do that, y'all can request that.
I mean, it's not.
By
What
doing
district
a
is this in?
subdivision without improvements, if they have to do ponds and stuff, they become a subdivision with improvements.
This is Tabs Lobell's district. Let's see what he's got to say about
I
this.
think that, there are already drainage issues in the area. I mean, if you drive by there, it's, I went by there and looked at it, and it looks like, a bunch of palmettos got plowed. So, there's definitely some issues, but if Morgan, if she, I'm trying to think,
It's like John.
if, Shane's got a point, the safest thing to do is do the drainage impact study and our butt's covered.
Here, the exception that they're utilizing is we eliminated, when we redid the deal, on the submittal situation with respect to the drainage impact study, we eliminated the fact that a certain number of lots in a minor subdivision would not require it. We said that even a subdivision without improvement would require a drainage impact study. However, there were like 4 exceptions. And one of them is a 20% impervious situation. Now, that wasn't, the intent of that was not for a subdivision. The intent of that was for a large commercial development where you were gonna have a lot of, area that wasn't impacted. Like, we're gonna build something in the front of a big piece of property and the back was not gonna be utilized. So, and in part of that determining the 20% is you submitted a drawing that showed you where the less than 20% was. And what we're getting now is, well, we think the driveway is gonna be this many square feet, we think the houses are gonna be this many square feet, and so we're like at 7 or 8% or something. But there's no limit on the what, if it's approved, can actually be built. A pond is an impervious surface. So in essence, if people start digging ponds out there to move dirt onto their property, every square foot of a pond becomes an impervious surface. So my question is, if, what are there, 30-something lots? There's 30 lots in here. If the guy sells the first 15 and then planning or permitting issues permits and we reach the 20% of the 30 lots, we reach the 20% of the 75 acres in digging ponds and laying driveways and pouring slabs, does that make the next 15 lots not marketable? Or if everybody sold their lot, then you need to be the first to dig, to make your area. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not like that you identify where the 20% is, which is the intent. We're saying that, well, we think based on this size house and this size driveway, we're not gonna reach 20%. But nobody has control over what barns are built, what ponds are dug or anything, and we could easily go over the 20%. So the intent of that exception wasn't to address a subdivision situation. It was to address something that you could outline and define what the impervious surface, whatever that area, that particular surface. So I think they're reaching to find it. And to be honest with you, if that particular exception gets utilized in this thing, then we're gonna recommend removing it. And because that wasn't the intent. And so, I feel like a full-blown drainage impact study needs to be done on 75 acres when you're putting 30 lots out.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yes,
I get something,
it
Shane.
should never be.
Go ahead, we have Mr. Jeff Avery.
Well, I know you drive by there and you see slash. That's what you see, it's low. But I grew up here, right there. They got a ridge goes all the way down through the middle of the thing. So it's not all slash. It don't stay wet all the time, all of it. Some of it does, but all of it don't. So, if that helps.
That's
y'all.
in Mr. Lobel's district, right?
What chance do you think there is that you'll have to wind up doing an entire drainage impact study? You got
Probably a good one.
100%.
Well, I mean, they identified in the letter problems with the upstream and downstream drainage, didn't they?
Yeah, there's existing drainage problems, and they will not be responsible for fixing existing drainage problems. But if they make it any worse, they are responsible for that.
Yeah, so I mean, the way the ordinance was written and the way I understood what we passed is that we can't make a developer fix upstream and downstream problems, but we can make sure that they don't increase the up and downstream problems
And how are we gonna do that?
with
You
a
gotta have a
full-blown drainage impact study.
Absolutely, that's what's required.
That's exactly right. Now, we had a gentleman in the back that would like to say something about this.
Good evening. My name is Ralph Burgess. I'm with Civil Design and Construction. We're the engineering surveyors of record. I'm the actual surveyor of record for this project. The point of the ordinance Mr. Gary was talking about, I understand where he's coming from, but also when we did our numbers for this, we actually went well over conservative what would normally be there. So the actual percentage of impervious area is actually technically lower to what would be standard built there. All right, 6,000, 7,000 square foot, and it's duly noted what you're saying. And I think a clarification on that ordinance may be in order in the future. Regarding the drainage area, what we're trying to handle is a lot of through water that's coming from upstream of us as it is now, across several culverts that are inadequate for the ditches that are there. The ditches that go through our gentleman's property, our client's property, and across our client's property is only about an average of 2 feet deep. The water does get out of this area. It's a slow drain, and that's some of the stuff that we're looking at to make sure we're not increasing at the request of Mr. Sam and Morgan and Chad. We're also looking at this information also to see if we're going to increase or not increase. As it is, preliminary numbers looks at about 1 CFS increase as it sits. The developer is here today also if you have any other questions for him, but for majority of the part, what you're looking at is the intent has been conveyed to us that this property is not going to be a slash and burn and refill type of development. The development is going to be an underbrush removal of trees of only those areas that need to be removed for the improvements of the house and improvements of the driveways going in to this property. So some of the things that we've also looked at for the drainage in this part is, I know Sam and I have talked about, we're going to get together later on, is some of the downstream improvements that possibly needs to be made, because this bayou does connect. This is the head of a bayou. It's called Greasy Bayou. It goes from the area that we're at right now. There's text water up to from a cross drain just north of our project at the church there across from the RV park. And it runs through Weyerhaeuser property all the way down to LA 42, which has 3 48 equivalent arch pipes, then runs in the Gun Swamp and on out to Markoff. So we know where the watershed is going. What we're having to look at is how this is affecting what's coming through our development. Some of the problems we're looking at is problems that we're not even going to touch, because the issue now is the ditch is run there is inadequate, the outflow is inadequate, and that type of deal. So that's what we're looking at right now. That's what this kind of stuff we're working with Morgan and Sam and Chad on. So I just want to make sure we're clarifying what's going on. The water does get out of the property. It overflows the ditch. Once the water stops flowing down, it goes back in the ditch and it goes back out into the natural drain. And if you look at the plat that we had, we presented a plat to you where there's actually a commons area that's between the lots that allow for a natural setting, if you would say so, that would actually allow for any overflow of water to go into and not be disturbed. So I just kind of want to come up and clear some things and put some lines between A and B and C for you guys so that y'all know what we're doing. We're all working with y'all in the parish on trying to get everything remedied to keep this project moving forward. It's kind of unique. Most of y'all see things come in that is just clear. It's pretty much clear cut. Cut, field, pull it up. This is something that's different. It's something that's trying to keep what's naturally there and keep it in the same order that it is now. So all we want to do is just keep moving forward and then work with Morgan and the parish to address the drainage issues.
Well, what's the base flood there with respect to natural land versus what somebody would have to build to?
Okay, base flood, actually we have the core determination from that. The base flood on the north end of the flood zone A is at, if I remember correctly, it's 26, which we're exactly 6 inches below in some areas. So we're right at the base flood. The lower part is at 24, which we've taken some natural ground shots out there, and in some areas we are actually above the base flood elevation as it sits now.
But what you're saying is that you could basically build a house and driveway without bringing in any old dirt?
Right, pretty much. One of the recommendations to most of y'all build houses, you do want to bring a little bit of dirt in, bring a lot of flow, that type of deal, which is going to be a normal standard procedure type of issue. We're not looking to bring in 3-4 feet of fill.
I know, y'all gonna build these custom, or y'all gonna sell lots? I'm just trying to, what is their intent? Because, that has a lot to do with, once you sell it, then you lose control, so, I'm just.
Right, most of the, and Mr. Gregg, if I say something wrong, please step up. Sure. From what Mr. Gregg has told us, Mr. Gregg Nether, he's a developer on the project, has conveyed to us, this is pretty much going to be like somewhat custom homes, and somewhat I call a custom spec on the words. He'll build the house, or his son or someone will build a house to the specifications he has, and then live it and sell it. If there's lots to be sold, if someone's interested in buying a lot, they'll be able to come buy a lot. These are large lots. These are not going to be pretty much, I've been in this business for a long time. Anytime you get over a third of an acre, these are not stamped houses like you see everywhere else.
How big are they?
Huh?
About how big are they?
We can't hold it.
Yeah, I can't hold it on plate.
Oh, how big of the house?
Lots.
Oh, the lots. The smallest lot is 1.85 acres. Okay, we have, and they go up to 2 acres. You have 4 lots that are 4 acre plus.
So estate lots is what you're.
Yeah, they're estate lots. They're not small
Okay.
lots.
That still doesn't.
We've also
I
did
get
a,
it. I get what you're telling us, and that makes perfect sense.
right.
Except, and always that except.
Shane, I'd like to make a motion that we take our design engineers, our engineers recommendations. I think she's looking out for us, and she's gonna,
I know she is.
she's already
So you on top
thinking
of
it'd
this,
probably
you know what to do.
be a drainage
You're not
impact
gonna let
study,
nothing
so
go
we're
by,
gonna,
no.
Okay, so,
we're gonna go with Ms.
I agree.
I make a
Yeah.
motion that we go with Ms. Morgan's recommendation.
And just to
Let's-
reassure what
let's-
he's saying, we've been in contact steady for the past 2-3 weeks on this, going back and forth, what we need, not need, and that type of deal, to make
So
sure
if she
we get.
sees that it needs a whole
Okay.
full-blown, you're gonna require them to do that.
Yeah.
That's all we
okay,
need, that's fine.
so let's clarify this. We have a motion on the floor by Tab Lobel to approve this preliminary plat based on Morgan, or I guess you could say Fort Neblata's recommendation on whether or not they need a gravity drainage study or not.
Yes.
Okay,
Full.
is that clear?
Is that good enough?
that-
Rick?
Say that one more time.
What is your recommendation? What was your recommendation?
I guess we should approve it contingent upon, the drainage issues being worked out through
To
the.
the satisfaction of.
Can we be a little
So-
bit, a little bit more
Planning
specific?
department.
If you're satisfied that the numbers they give you don't require a full drainage impact study, then you're gonna be comfortable with that. But if you, otherwise, you're gonna require a full drainage impact study.
Okay,
I think that's, yeah, write that down, that's perfect.
so basically, okay, so is that motion clear, Sandy?
Clear as bell.
All right, and we have a second by Mr. Bubba Harris. All right. I'll call for the vote on this one.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Averett.
Yes.
Mr. Lobel.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse.
Yes.
Mr. Mack.
Yes.
Mr. Wascom.
Yes.
Mr. Talbot.
Yes.
You just thought this was really good.
All right.
Thank you, Ralph.
All right, so, Mr. Cindy
Okay.
Geronimo, 13C.
Next on the agenda is a multifamily development. This is in Mr. Gary Talbot's district, Eagles Nest Townhomes. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for Eagles Nest Townhomes.
All right, is there any discussion from the audience? Any discussion from the council?
Well, I'm not real crazy about it, but it meets the ordinance, and they're gonna have to do it 25 years. They're gonna have to utilize a new deal and go 25 years. And Morgan, you're gonna look 100 year down and up because of the where they gotta drain to, because we know we got problems with the bank right there and everything else, so.
Gary, where's this at on 16?
You know where Duke's is? You got Duke's in
Oh,
the
that's the one
bank,
in between the bank,
Duke's Bank, and then the dentist office.
where they've been trying to sell that for
Yeah,
forever?
yeah,
Okay,
right there.
All right. That's a decent spot.
Okay, so we have, is that a motion? Did you make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I
All
mean.
right, we have a motion by Gary Frog Talbot to approve the preliminary site plan for Eagles Nest Townhomes. Do we have a second? We have a second by Mr. Scooter King.
My people.
All in favor? No opposed? All right, let's move on. 13D.
Okay, this is a commercial development. This is Hobby Lobby coming in on the east side of Juban Road there at Juban Crossing. This is in Mr. Bubba Harris's district. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission.
It's in Tracy's district.
Tracy's district.
Well, I got both.
I
We'll
know
check
it's
it
down the
out.
street, that's all.
That's what we'll check it out though. We'll say Mr. Bubba's and Mr. Tracy's.
All right.
Nice, in front.
But it is on the east side of Juban Road, on the south side of Castle Road, Tracy. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for Hobby Lobby with a waiver on the building line setbacks and contingent on the fire department being okay with the hydrant placements. Now, the waiver is because the building is sitting right up against the property lines. And they own both properties.
I think that's up to you.
Is this one of them deals where they plan on using a common wall at a later date on the next building?
Gary, I haven't
I
been
would
told
think-
that, but I think that's what they're gonna do. Now, let's.
That's
Mark
just
it.
north of the new, gas station. How is it in conjunction to Burger King right there?
There is no burger.
Or whatever it is, something King.
Starbucks?
I don't know.
Dairy
Oh, that's
Queen.
on the other end. Dairy Queen. It's on the other side.
Oh,
Okay.
Dairy Queen's on the other side of the interstate.
Yeah.
Well, they building something right there. What is
It looks
it?
like-
Starbucks.
That's
Starbucks?
a Starbucks. Okay, somebody told me it was Burger King. Okay.
Starbucks, I think.
There you go.
So the waiver is because that wall's right on the property line, which would lead you to believe that they're gonna do another building right next to it, and use that wall common.
That's, that, I think.
So do we have, so I guess the question is I know we need a waiver of this. Have we looked at maybe adjusting our ordinances since we now have these big box stores that are gonna come in and build next to each other to address, being able to do that without needing a waiver?
Usually when they do it, they own the whole building, and they rent out, like, do the crossing, they own all of it, and they rent out each store. So,
But-
I don't think we've looked into changing it, 'cause honestly, I think, I haven't seen this waiver be granted yet, but I'm
Okay. But they own the lot next door, Chad?
I believe the developer owns all that,
Yeah,
the same,
Creekstone.
Creekstone owns all
That's
that.
all, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I think they have plans to tie it all in, it's just a matter of giving them that attachment.
Tracy, you good with that waiver?
I don't think this happens very often, Fraud, because, you don't have these big box stores working, I mean, just like she was saying on Junior Crossing, they own most of them, they had different track fields for the districts, but most of it's all on track and they put it all together anyway, so you don't have it where they split it off and you have different rentals on the property, that's all.
What's the offset? What are they?
Well, it would normally be 5 foot on the side, or is it 7 or 5? 7? So they're going right up against it. So, and I think, and if, it's obviously if they're going right up against it, they plan on using that wall at a later date for another building.
Mr. Gerald,
They own it, they own the property.
you okay? Mr. Gerald, he's on the planning commission, he lives like right there, so.
He gets lots of development.
I think he made the motion.
Well, I mean, if he's okay with it,
Then it's gonna be the right thing.
it'll be fine, because he's
on it.
on the planning, and he lives right there, so.
Good call.
It's
Is that a motion?
a motion.
Okay, we have a motion
I'll second that.
by Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse to approve the preliminary site plan for Hobby Lobby with a waiver on the building line setback and contingent on the fire department being okay with the hydrant placement. That was one thing we didn't discuss, but I mean,
Yeah.
you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if the fire department is obviously
not
contingent
okay,
on that, they'll make it okay.
Tell them to move it, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, Joe's gonna,
So that's the motion. And do we have a second?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a second
let
by
Bubba
Mr.
have it.
Bubba Harris. Before we vote, is there any more discussion? Good. Okay,
Since it's
so,
partially Bubba's district too, apparently.
all in favor? All in favor? Aye. All right. Sam,
thank you.
thank you for all your explanation and details and hard work, man.
Appreciate y'all.
You too, Miss Morgan. I don't know what we'd do without you. Okay.
this because my wife loves Hobby Lobby.
Yeah.
All right, item
Go
number
as far.
Item number 14, set a speed limit on Hartman Lane, the west side, at 20 miles an hour. That's Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse's district.
Yes, this is the road that connects Walker, well, essentially it connects Walker south right there where they're building the canes within the city limits, and it comes down and it hits Gaylord Road. It kind of travels along, parallel with the interstate. I had asked some people residents who live on that street wanted to have the speed limit set. The speed limit was kind of, we lowered it, but there's no posting. So they set it to 20 miles an hour. The city did post it this way. It's 20 miles coming back toward Walker, but that's actually, the road is kind of split between the city limits ends right there. So I'd asked we post the speed limit sign there. We have to set the speed limit and post it there so people will know when they come back from Gaylord Road that it's 20 miles an hour. So,
Both directions. Okay.
I think it's a good idea. So I would like to make that motion to set the speed
So
limit.
we have a motion to set the speed limit on Hartman Lane, the west side, at 20 miles an hour by Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We got a second by Mr. Bubba Harris. Is there any discussion from the audience on this particular topic or agenda item? No? All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No? All right.
Yeah, let's go do it.
All right, item number 15. appoint members to the Master Plan Review Committee. Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse.
Okay, as you all know, we've been discussing looking at reviewing the master plan and implementing portions of it, if not all of it, over a period of time, specifically as it relates to, in this particular case, zoning. But the master plan is much more than that. So in order to do that, we are assembling a committee in order to review what exists, what was done, our predecessors, and update things that might be updated. Basically, just review the whole thing, see what's pertinent, see what's not, what needs to be changed or tweaked, and to present something to us, to where we can have a discussion on it or vote toward it. So at that end, I think this committee started out, we were going to do 5 members, and then we were going to do 7, but I wanted to allow every member on the council to feel like they have representation on the board. So in the end, we settled on 9. So we have 9 members with the parish president. Mr. Talbot was gracious enough to not put someone on or recommend someone, because we get the parish president input as well. You want me to name the members?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is is it Eileen McCarroll?
Yes.
And that would be Mr. Mack's appointment. Dominique Abrams, which is Mr. Abrams. Larry O'Neill, which I think that was Mr. Lobel's. Kay Keene, Scooters. Jeb Sadler, that'd be Mr. Harris. John Wascom has decided to chair that seat for himself, right?
Yes.
All right. Kayla Lockhart Johnson, that is the parish president's recommendation. Mr. Gerald Burns, he's my recommendation, but he's also on the planning, so that actually we killed 2 birds with 1 stone there.
Yeah.
And at the moment, Mr. Ard has said he's going to chair the seat himself too. So those are our 9 members, and I was wondering, should we discuss a meeting time for that? So
I don't know. I'm thinking the committee should
they
maybe
might
make that decision.
hammer that
But
out.
one thing I wanted to ask before I forget, do we need to set expiration dates or anything like that, or this just be just a committee until this committee's dissolved?
once they present it to us, then it'll be.
They're to study it, make a recommendation to the full council, and after that, he'll kind of be dissolved. And
I just kind of wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Sandy, do you have something to say about that?
Usually when you form a committee,
Uh-huh.
when it's served its purpose,
Yep.
then it's dissolved.
Okay, great.
And out of the ordinance
Unless
committee
it's
today,
stated.
we made a recommendation we talked about it, and the recommendation of the ordinance was to do this resolution with the 9 members to do the review and presentation to the council. So,
Okay, that's good. So do we want to do that now?
yeah, I think we're done. I think Tracy's made the deal. The resolution is to form this committee with those 9 members, and they'll figure out when they're gonna meet the first time, they'll elect a chairman, and they'll set their rules, and they'll move forward.
Okay, so real quick, is there any discussion from the audience on this particular agenda item? All right.
Just
So we
wanna
have
say
one more,
thing.
we have
The
something?
home rule charter has a section in it that allows you to do this as a council.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful.
That's a non-paid committee, right?
Yes, it's absolutely non-paid.
Non-paid committee. So Tracy, did you make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we go forward.
We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse
I'll second.
to form, what we're calling it a specific, is it zoning committee?
It's the
What are we calling it?
Master Plan Review Committee.
Master Plan Review Committee. My bad. Let me read that. Okay.
That'll consist of the 9 members.
That'll
listed.
consist of the 9 members that he stated tonight. Okay? So,
Do we need to put a stipulation in there if these two guys decide to appoint somebody, or just no big deal?
I mean, I think it's understood if they want to resign, that somebody's gonna be replacing them. I mean, I don't think you gotta do it.
I'm just making sure so we have to do it again.
all right. So do we have a second on forming that committee?
I'll second it.
We have a second by Mr. Gary Talbert. All right, no more discussion, anybody? I call for the vote on that one.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Averett.
Yes.
Mr. Liddell.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Mr. Greenhouse.
Yes.
Mr. Mack.
Yes,
Mr. Wascom.
Yes.
Mr. Talbert.
Yes.
all right. Item number 16, request for a variance for a family member, non-descending, ascending, for a third address situated on 3.109 acre lot located at 22440 LA Highway 444 in Livingston, Louisiana, in Council District Number 8. Mr. Tab Blowback.
I've talked to these folks, it's a uncle and his two nephews, and, they got plenty of property there, and it's not a exact descending, but it's all family, and I'd like to note that if it's, not family, then one of them has to go away.
All right.
If
So-
any time in the future.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've told them specifically, hey, this can't, the minute we drop the gavel, it can't, become rent houses, you know,
Good job.
so,
All right, so is that a motion, Mr. Tab?
that's a motion.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor to grant this variance for a family member for a third address at this particular address, location. Okay, and it's contingent upon family members
Family members, yes.
living within the dwellings on that particular piece of property. Okay, is there a second?
I got it.
Got a second by Mr. Jeff Averett. And before we vote, is there any discussion from the council, from the audience? All right. All in favor? Aye. No opposed? All right. District Attorney report, item number 17.
No report.
No report. Committee reports. How about the ordinance committee report by Mr. Gary Talbot?
The ordinance committee met today, and we discussed, an issue that we've had, that we need to address. We have a situation where, in the past, we're supposed to present to, Mr. Mark Harrell's office a set of plans on every commercial building, prior to inspection, and it really hadn't been enforced. And part of the problem is because of the 30-day time frame. If somebody forgot, then they would be, 30 days out before the inspection could happen. So basically, in talking to Mr. Harrell to try to resolve this issue, and in talking to Sam and Ms. Dee Dee at the permit office, that this is gonna be added to the permit checklist, before the final inspection. And basically, if you look at the ordinance, I don't know if it's in y'all's packet or not, it basically says that it's gonna identify that it's gotta be in a PDF format. It changes from 30 calendar days to 2 calendar days, and it changes from the beginning of business operations to final inspections. And the reason for that, part of it is that Mark felt that 2 days before the inspection, the as-bills that you get are gonna be the most accurate, based on what's going forward. And in our discussion at the committee level, there was some discussion about, we talked about submitting construction plans, and some people talked that they would be very cumbersome. So in following up with Mr. Mark's office, his recommendation was that, floor plan layout shall include all windows and doors with sizes of each, FTC connection locations, all fire hydrant locations, sprinkler and riser room locations, and location of connections and providers of gas, water, and electrical. So basically, the PDF format will be a floor plan with all these specifics identified, so that when, whether it be sheriff's office, EMS, fire department roll up, they can access that state website, which is really kind of like a Google map for first responders. Pull up that address and that floor plan will jump up in front of them, and they'll readily know where all the issues are, where the things they need to look at, because it was brought to our attention, some of these fire departments are spending time after buildings open to go identify this stuff on their own. So it's gonna be incumbent upon the developer, contractor, resident of these commercial buildings, occupier of these residents, to make sure this submittal's done in a timely basis so they get their final inspection at Mr. Mark's office. So I'd like to make a motion to introduce this ordinance at this time.
All right. Cindy, are you required to read this?
I am, and give it a number.
Oh, that's
Set the
wonderful.
public hearing.
Well, go ahead.
Okay, this will be proposed ordinance 19-8. This is an ordinance to amend chapter 14.3, section 14.3-1, safety regulations to include revisions to the Livingston Code regulations booklet of the Code of Ordinances and for the Code of Livingston. The public hearing will be at 6:30 on March the 20th.
All right. So we have a motion on the, is there any discussion from the audience on this? All right. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Gary Frog Talbot.
He had to put frog in there, he just couldn't resist. We went the whole meeting without that.
To introduce this ordinance, amend section 14.3-1, safety regulations. Approve the details that he just laid out. Is that good? Do we have a second? We have a second by Mr. Bubba Harris. All in favor? Aye. All right. Finance Committee, the Honorable Mr. Tracy Gurlinghouse.
But I get a mail, I thought it was Han for a while. Yeah, who they call me Han. So the budget was pretty on par. I mean, the intake of taxes, everything was pretty on par for, was very good there. A few items of note. The parish wanted to go into a one-time landscape update for the courthouse. So they had some dead trees, and so, just needs to be up. It comes out of their money that's appropriated for the courthouse, but they needed us to approve it, and they wanted to enter a lawn maintenance contract. Evidently, they're not satisfied with the one they have. Jennifer told us too that it's a per occurrence, so if it rains and they don't come, then they don't pay. They just pay every time they come and mow. So they aren't going to pay for something that doesn't happen. And finally, we needed to address some air conditioning repairs within the jail itself. They have a lot of they said control units that are proprietary to the original installer. So essentially, you can't put universal. You have to replace it with those. She said a lot of them, a good chunk of them don't work at all. So they're having a hard time getting that correct. So they're hiring someone to come in and put universal thermostats and controllers in there to where any air conditioning company could essentially come in and fix it at a later date if they decide to go off contract with the person installing them. The company they're going with is local. They have a very quick response time as opposed to, they were saying before, they had issues with that. So the finance committee, was in agreement with that. That's it.
All right. Awesome report.
Also want to remind everyone that the jail, and I think it's noteworthy that the jail actually falls under the parish, not the sheriff's department. So we are responsible for maintaining and things as a result of the jail.
What we're asking them to do is improve.
Yes.
Sign this contract.
That's correct.
They got that? In other words, we were just telling them it's okay to sign those contracts, we just need to.
Yeah.
Do we need to vote on that, we just deal with that?
No.
I don't think so. Just sign.
All right. Item
It
number,
doesn't have any power to approve anything, they can only recommend, so if y'all wanted to approve it, the council would need to do it.
Yeah, but I'm not sure given that, the way the thing, government structured it, on that
On
stuff
that
like that,
particular
procurement
deal?
stuff, he doesn't.
I think
she
the
informed
parish
us of it,
president
but I-
wanted our approval. He
That's all.
he
I
doesn't
think he
need
can
it,
sign them
he
on
just
his
wanted
own.
us to be in
He
agreement.
just wants to make sure that we.
Just wanna make us aware of what was
Okay.
going
It's
on.
coming out of the budget we've already
Well, no,
adopted.
not our
Right.
budget. Well,
Yeah, we-
Yeah.
we
it's
had-
coming out
we
of
had-
particular funds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That fund
Well,
was
that's
in
what
our-
she said,
that
it wasn't
fund-
budgeted items, so we had to approve them.
Right.
Okay. There you go, we got it.
all right. Councilman comments? Anybody?
Shane, on the risk of having Scooter throw something at me over here, the other night, whenever the Tigers got beat by Northwestern, that was a Springfield boy that closed the game out for them.
Hey,
Was Tyler.
They didn't just beat them, they beat them.
Yeah,
They didn't give them away, they beat
They,
them.
he
Did
Well,
graduated.
y'all see the Northwestern fan in the back?
Get
don't
out!
you?
Get out!
He's still living that glory
They
day.
didn't-
He knows I say glory day.
Old Tyler, he did go to Gall and graduate, but he's. I just wanted to give him a few props.
The Tigers won the national championship, we beat them in the regular season, so.
That's a good sign.
That's a
I
good
like it.
sign. That's right.
Yeah.
I
Also,
just wanted to give him a plug.
Thank you.
I also wanted to know, it was, the Walkout Boys basketball team went back to the state and they just couldn't hang on long enough to beat, Thibodeau, but yeah, I think they did an excellent job. They did.
Played hard.
These guys played really hard,
Yeah. Proud of
and,
them.
you know,
You good.
they did very well. I'm very proud of them too. You know, a lot of people didn't think that they would get back there because of the attrition they had from last year, but these guys, you know, put themselves back together, went out there with I would say a much different team, but yet very effective. I couldn't be more proud of them.
A little bit short, that's
Yeah,
okay.
you know.
Okay.
The only person more proud of that is when the Denham Springs girls basketball beat Walker and then went on to the state championship. But I love you, Mr. Clark, but you know.
I want to take 1 second and I want y'all to notice, I want y'all to remember that on May 4th, there's an election in our parish. Whether you're for or against, exercise your responsibility if you're a resident of District 3 and make it to the poll.
If you're not sure how to vote, ask me.
Be all right if you.
It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter if you're a yes or no guy, just go to the poll.
Please go vote.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain everyone knows how to vote.
All right, so do we have, that being said, do we have a motion on the floor to
What'd you say?
adjourn this meeting? We have a motion by Mr. Bubba Harris, we have a second by Mr. Gary Frog Talbert. All in favor? Aye.